Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Mindy here. I hope you're doing very well. I hope this week has been kind to you, and I hope you're off to the start of a fantastic weekend. Today I'm going to start a little bit differently than I usually do, and that is by asking you to consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already done so. My husband made a promise to me this past summer that if I hit 1,000 subscribers, he will watch one of my videos. He made that promise over a campfire with a little bit of Modelo Especial flowing in front of friends, so I am going to hold him to that. Please don't interpret that as him not supporting me, because he absolutely does. There are a lot of packages that show up on my doorstep on a regular basis, and he doesn't question that. So don't take it that way. I would just really love for him to watch one of these videos and learn a little bit about the perfumes that I like. So today's video is about fragrances that I brought into my collection over the month of October. A couple of these I've mentioned before, but most of them I have not. I'm really excited to share my thoughts on these. One of them I'm questioning if it's a fake, so I'm interested to share that one with you and see what you guys think about it. Traditionally, I tend to lean towards gourmand fragrances. I have a type. I love sweet, delicious, cozy, comforting gourmand fragrances, but today's perfumes will be centered around different types of categories. So today I have some florals, I have some woody fragrances, I have some ambers here that I'm really excited to share my thoughts on. I really love to work outside of the sandbox that I usually play in and expand my experience with fragrance. So if that interests you, please stay tuned and we will jump right in. The first two fragrances that I'm going to talk about today have been spoken about on my channel before. I talked about these in a BDK fragrance review, shared my thoughts on them when I only had samples, and I did immediately buy full bottles soon after really exploring each one of these. The first is Passaggiata, and then the other is Gris Charnel, both by the house of BDK. I'll start with Gris Charnel. This one is a stunning fragrance. I absolutely love this perfume. There's cardamom in here, and there's a little bit of spiciness in this perfume. There's also fig in this fragrance, and that fig gives it a lactonic, creamy-like quality. What I like the most in this fragrance and what stands out the most to me is that stunning sandalwood. The sandalwood is definitely the most noticeable note to me, and it is done exceptionally well in this fragrance. There is some iris in this perfume as well, and that seems to balance out some of the warm spiciness that you have here. In addition to those notes, there's also tea in this fragrance, bourbon vetiver, and tonka bean. So one thing I'll say is that while I do absolutely adore this fragrance, I did feel a little outside of my comfort zone wearing it. It is an amber spicy fragrance, and like I said before, I traditionally lean towards gourmand perfumes. This is not your typical gourmand fragrance. This is a little bit different. When I sprayed the normal amount of sprays that I use, I wore this in public, I really felt a little insecure about how much I had sprayed. I felt like it was overpowering, it was kind of in your face. So the next time I wear this, I am going to tone back the amount of sprays. I'm probably only going to spray 1 or 2 and see how it sits on my skin. I'm hoping that it'll be a little bit dialed back. Love the scent of this one, and if nothing else, if I find that I don't totally feel comfortable wearing this perfume in public, I will absolutely wear this one for myself on those days I'm going to be in the home for most of the day or working from home, whatever the situation is. This is a gorgeous fragrance, one I'm so grateful to have in my collection, Gris Charnel by BDK. Next up, also by BDK, is Passaggiata. If you're curious about what my most worn fragrance was for the month of October, look no further than this one right here. This one to me is unusual. It's unique. I'm completely head over heels addicted to this perfume. It is definitely a 9 out of 10 for me. It's one I reach for on a regular basis. When I talk about that narcotic quality that I find in Bois Dore by Van Cleef and Arpels, I also find this one to have a narcotic quality. Not saying they smell anything alike, because they don't, but I find myself growing addicted to this one as I get to know it more. This was definitely not a love at first sniff for me, but that warm, delicious spiciness that you get from this fragrance really does grow on you over time. There's a fruitiness in this one that is unlike the fruitiness that I have in any other fragrance of mine. There is both quince and mandarin orange in this fragrance, and those seem to be where I'm getting that fruitiness from. Quince tends to have an aromatic, fruity note, a little bit sour and dry. And then there's also ginger in this one, giving it some added dimension. I just can't get enough of the fruity aspect that I have here. In addition, there's sort of a woody tone. There's a little bit of a floral quality. It is very warm, cozy, and spicy. This has a classy, sophisticated feel to it as well. But one thing I would say about this one is before you buy a full bottle, I definitely recommend trying it. Again, it wasn't a love at first sniff for me. This might be one that needs to grow on you, but I don't think that you should start off with a full bottle just in case this one doesn't really work out for you. What do you guys think about Ce Soir? When I read through the reviews, it really seems like there's divergent experiences here. Some people say it smells like rotten fruit. Some people compare it to other fragrances like Fantasy, Flowerbomb, Belle. None of those are what I've experienced from this fragrance. Like I said, it is truly unique to me. It's unlike anything else I've smelled. I disagree respectfully with the reviews where people don't like this one and their reasons why. Definitely interested to hear from you guys on how you feel about this one. Again, that is Ce Soir by BDK. The next fragrance that I have here is one that's been on my radar for quite some time. I've really gone back and forth on buying this one as time has gone on, but I really didn't think it was accessible to buy. Until recently when I saw a video by Sarah May. She spoke about ambery fragrances that she has in her collection. She mentioned that this one can be bought on Perfume Online Canada, and as soon as I saw that, I immediately submitted an order. This is Truth or Dare Naked by Madonna. Now with this fragrance, some people say this is similar to Jessica Simpson Fancy. In fact, I believe Sarah Mays may have referred to that in her video. I can't quite recall. And I get why people make that parallel. However, for me, this is quite different. There is definitely that ambery, balsamic feel to this fragrance, but you don't get that same level of sweetness in this one that you do get in Fancy. So Fancy has that very caramelic, sweet, vanillic vibe to it. And with this one, I'm definitely picking up more florals than I would prefer. Yes, I really like this fragrance and I'd probably rate it a 7 out of 10. It's really, really nice, but I'm not sure that it's typically the type of fragrance that I go for. What I will say though is wearing this one on my skin twice now, I find that each time I wear it, it warms up to me more and more. I like it more and more. So I do see a point in time where this one ranks quite a bit higher on that scale for me than it does right now. You know, there is one other fragrance that this sort of reminds me of. It's an amber vanilla fragrance, and it may be because I just recently smelled this one, but it made me think of Amen Pure Havane by Mugler. That is generally marketed towards men, and it has some tobacco qualities. It has some masculine qualities to it. But this one smells somewhat in a similar vein to that fragrance. So for people who like Amen Pure Havane, you may like this fragrance as well. I'm going to continue working with this perfume. I think it does smell great. It is quite addictive. It's a gorgeous fragrance. Not yet ranked as high as I like the fragrances I wear on a regular basis to rank, but I'll continue to share my thoughts on this one and see if it evolves over time. This is Truth or Dare Naked by Madonna. Okay, next up is a fragrance that might be a little bit embarrassing on a couple of fronts for me. First off, I'm not sure I can pronounce this full name. It is a long name, so I'm going to simplify it and I'll put the full name up here. This is Passaggiata by Trussardi. This is a fragrance I've seen spoken about so many times on the forums, and I've definitely been curious of because of the gourmand nature of this fragrance. The second reason this one may be a little bit embarrassing to me is because I'm not sure I have an authentic fragrance here. I've been questioning this dialogue in my head on whether this one is real, whether it's fake, for a whole bunch of reasons. So when I go through the review on this one, I'll definitely share my thoughts on the scent profile, but I'm also going to share the reasons why I think it might be real, in addition to some of the reasons why I think this could be fake. What really sparked my interest on this specific fragrance were the notes that are in here, and I've heard so many people speak about this one. The notes in this fragrance that really drew me in are hazelnut, coffee, cinnamon, there's tuberose, coconut, there's also cedar, vanilla, and white musk. Definitely all notes that make this a gourmand fragrance, one I was really curious to get my nose on. So why do I think this one may be real? The seller seemed highly rated and the price was kind of high. Now, I have bought a fake Chanel off of eBay before. That was definitely a lesson learned for me. The price was too good to be true. I think I paid $30 for a fragrance that normally retails for over $100. I should have known if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. In this case, the price was quite high. It was only about $15 off from what this generally sells for, so it's not like I bought it at a steal. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I thought the price might mean that this one is authentic. The other thought that has been on my mind is that yes, Chanels are faked quite frequently. We also know that Maison Francis Kurkdjian fragrances can sometimes be faked. I've seen plenty of Barakat Rouges instead of Baccarat Rouge 540s, which is an easy sign that you have a phony baloney fragrance. So with this one, I was thinking that Trussardi is probably not a generally faked fragrance, but I don't know that for sure, and I'm definitely curious what your thoughts are on that. The other thing was that this was packaged professionally. When I received this, it really did look like it was packaged as brand new, an authentic fragrance, and for that reason, I did think that it could be real. Okay, so now why am I questioning that this fragrance could be a phony baloney? First off is the aesthetic of the fragrance. I don't know if you can see this, but it looks like the label is very off-center to me. In addition to that, the bottle is banged up quite a bit. There's a lot of dents in the bottle, and while there is some really nice detail in this one that you may not be able to see on camera, I did think that this one could be fake based on the aesthetic of the bottle. Another thing that makes me wonder if this one is a fake fragrance is because it is soft, it is subtle. Yes, there is a beautiful hazelnut, woody, delicious gourmand accord to this fragrance. It is a nice smelling fragrance, but it is very, very soft. So a piece of me wondered if, the bottle is real, but this has been diluted. It's really hard for me to say. So if there are any experts out there on authentic fragrances, please let me know what you think. Now, the last thing that stood out to me was something I noticed after the fact, after I had already bought it and was looking at the tracking, that this did ship from the Russian Federation. Now, I don't want to say that that's a bad thing. Honestly, I don't know personally, but there are plenty of forums out there suggesting that product that ships from the Russian Federation could be fake. So there's plenty of cautions out there, people who talk about that. I've tried to be mindful of that when I go out and look at Penhaligon's fragrances that often ship from the Russian Federation, and really consider that when I've thought about buying those perfumes. What do you guys think? Have you guys received a phony baloney fragrance before? How did you react when you found out? It's only happened to me once. This is questionable. I'm just not sure, so if anyone knows, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And that's partially why I'm struggling with this one. I don't find it to be a top 10 fragrance for me. I don't find it to be a 9 out of 10. It's probably closer to maybe a 6 or 7 out of 10, but it is a nice scent. Just not knowing if it's real does weigh on me a little bit, and I don't know what the real fragrance smells like. It'd be helpful if I had a sample or something to know. I did blind buy this fragrance on a whim, impulsively, when I saw people speaking about it, so that's another thing I would say. First, make sure you're buying from a trusted seller, but also make sure you sample fragrances first if you can, because sometimes blind buys can be a little bit of a bummer if they don't work out for you, if you're in a situation where I am questioning if it's fake or not. Okay, so I went into that one a little bit more in detail than I wanted to. This is Passaggiata by the Trussardi line. I'll put the full name up here. Okay, last up is a fragrance house that I'm not totally familiar with. This is Queens and Monsters by the House of Henry Rose. It was a colleague recently who mentioned this brand to me and asked me about it. I really didn't know much, so I wanted to dig in and learn a little bit more about it. This brand does have an interesting story. It was founded by Michelle Pfeiffer. They are a clean brand who claims to be free from harmful ingredients, and they also donate money to breast cancer research. So I think it's great that they give back and use their proceeds in that way. In my mind, honestly, I imagine this being the perfect woody, powdery scent. My mind kind of went to Mon Guerlain, maybe something in that vein. There's an aromatic quality to this one as well, but it is not that. To me, the powderiness in this fragrance, the softness that I get in this fragrance actually triggered a memory of an old Victoria's Secret fragrance that I used to wear. I could not remember which one it was, and I went through the 11 Victoria's Secret fragrances that I had accessible at my fingertips and compared them, and it was not the fragrances that I have. It's actually making me wonder if it was Halo that this one reminded me of, because the notes line up a little bit similarly. There is freesia, vanilla, sandalwood, and halo. And the notes in this one are violet leaf, neroli, freesia, jasmine, vanilla, cocoa musk, and sandalwood. So I'm not exactly sure which Victoria's Secret fragrance it was. This does bring back memories, and it triggered a scent memory of what I reminded of Victoria's Secret fragrance to be. I'm not totally sure about this scent. I do think it's soft. I think it's nice. It's pretty. It's pleasant. I think a lot of people are going to love this. If you like sandalwood and fragrances and you like some of the florals that I mentioned, like violet leaf, neroli, freesia, and jasmine, if you like that almost baby powder softness or texture in your fragrances, I think you may enjoy this one. For me, it's just not my typical type. It's not sweet enough, it's not gourmand enough for me. It just feels like something is missing in my opinion. This is the type of fragrance that I probably wouldn't reach for very much in my collection, but I can see why a lot of people would really enjoy this one. When I was looking a little bit more into this fragrance, I saw that Michelle Pfeiffer said she gravitated towards her father's cologne when she was younger, and something about this fragrance made her think of her father's cologne. I thought that was interesting because when I had my mother-in-law smell this one, she did say it had this feeling or vibe of aftershave. So I thought that was a little bit consistent, and for people who like that aftershave vibe, you may get that in here. I don't totally get that, but it seems like some people do. Again, this fragrance is Queens and Monsters by the House of Henry Rose. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I truly appreciate you. If you enjoyed this video on new fragrances I brought into my collection in the month of October, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel so I can hit that 1,000 mark and my husband will finally watch. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I hope you have a lot to be grateful and thankful for. And until next time, I'll see you soon.